So now we come to our final honoree of the evening. Last year, Robert Tudisco served in the role that I'm serving in tonight as Master of Ceremonies, and I served in the role that he's serving in tonight in receiving an award. Now, Robert tried to get us out of here last year without giving me my award, for any of you who are here, but just to show you that I'll let bygones be bygones, we're going to honor Robert properly. All joking aside, it's my great honor to introduce attorney Robert Tudisco, who will accept Smart Kids Be the Difference Award. I should mention that this is only the second time this award has ever been given. Its previous recipient 3 years ago was David Flink, founder of Eye to Eye and author of Thinking Differently. Robert is a nationally recognized author, motivational speaker, and nonprofit management consultant. He's a practicing attorney and senior counsel to the law firm of Barger and Gaines in Tarrytown, New York, specializing in education law, disability advocacy, and criminal law. He's the former executive director of the Edge Foundation, a nonprofit organization that provides specialized coaching for students with ADHD and executive function impairment. He's a past member of the National Board of Directors of CHAD, the Children and Adults of Kids with Attention Deficit Disorder, former VP of the Attention Deficit Disorder Association. He writes extensively on special education law and disability advocacy, served on the Attention Magazine Editorial Advisory Board for 10 years, writing frequently on adult with ADD, parenting, and legal issues, and he's a frequent media resource on attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Robert lectures at conferences and legal education seminars, as well as speaking to parent special ed groups throughout the country, and he's presented 3 terrifically engaging and well-attended programs for Smart Kids. Robert was diagnosed with ADHD as an adult. He has to have ADHD to accomplish all that he just accomplished. His own experiences as a child and student with ADHD, as an adult, an attorney, and a parent provide wonderfully acute depth and understanding to his comments on meeting the practical and legal challenges of life as an ADHD student. Robert received his JD at Fordham University School of Law in 1989 and served 4 years as the assistant DA in Bronx. He's an avid runner and sports philanthropist and 9-time marathon finisher. He lives with his wife and son in Eastchester, New York. Please welcome Robert Tudisco.
And I thought I was going to get out of here without that remark from last year. That was pretty funny. This is really quite an honor, and I appreciate you all coming out to support this organization. I've known Jane now for quite some time, and when you're a kid who can't keep his mouth shut, and someone asks you to come and speak, it's like being a kid in a candy store. And I often tell Jane that I'll speak to anyone who'll listen, and especially if it's something that I'm passionate about. And I try my hardest to really demystify what it's like to be inside here and to try to educate parents and educators and anyone who will listen about what it's like to have a learning difference. And thank you, Asia, for calling it a learning difference. I think that is wonderful, and it's a great perspective on this. And another thing that is really this is an emotional evening for me, because we do this type of work. It's not a career path, it's more of a calling. I was a kid who certainly couldn't keep my mouth shut when I was young, and there was an enormous amount of frustration because I always felt as if there was so much more going on behind my eyes than I was able to get credit for. And I see that in every child I meet with a learning challenge, with ADHD, with Asperger's. I see that frustration in their eyes, and I understand it. And I'm able to articulate it for them. And there are several things about tonight that are very special to me. Number one, this is a wonderful organization, and I'm happy to come out and support it, and I thank you all for doing the same. But the important thing about this is that I feel like I'm honored to be in the company that I'm in. These kids, these Youth Achievement Award winners, show so much intelligence, so much passion, and so much excitement that it is really an honor to be in their company. And also because an organization like this that's run by someone like Jane, who is one of my heroes, and to be recognized by someone who I think so much of, really means a whole lot. When I started doing this work, I started doing it because of the struggles that I had as a child. This was like a second chance to me, to work with these children and to advocate for them. It was really a privilege. I think of advocacy in many ways, and when I was young, I used to think of it as, arguing. But advocacy, I've come to learn, is really about providing a voice for someone who can't raise it on their own. And just to tell you a story really quickly, when I was young, one of the things that I struggled with was, as a kid with ADHD, undiagnosed ADHD, it was impossible for me to do any type of homework. And I had a lot of trouble reading as a child because of my attention span and my mind wandering and not being able to focus on what I was reading. And that was a real challenge. And one thing that strikes me in terms of the career path that I've chosen is that there was one book that was of interest to me, kind of incidentally. What I used to do in school was never read the book, but what I would do would be, since I had such a loud voice, I would kind of monitor the conversation that was going on in the classroom and kind of fake it and take over the discussion. And that was kind of like a coping mechanism that I didn't realize was going on at the time. But this one discussion seemed like a very interesting story. It was To Kill a Mockingbird. And I actually wound up reading that book because the discussion sounded so good and the movie was really good. And so Atticus Finch, for me, is probably the most noble character in all of American literature. And all my life, all I wanted to be was him. And when I stand up for a child and explain what they're struggling with and take their side and raise their voice for them, I really feel that way. And I feel like I'm making a difference. And it's very nice to be recognized by an organization like this, but the most important part of it is that you do this to make a difference, and when someone recognizes that you have, that means a whole lot. Asia was talking about STEM before, and I used to say this to my son when he was very young. Chemically speaking, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a scientific person, but from what I understand, we're kind of made up of pretty much a sack of salt water. And I used to tell my son when he was little that it is the impact that you make on the lives of other people that determines who you are. And I really feel strongly about that. And I really try to teach him that way. Another thing that's important about tonight is the theme of the evening, and that is making waves. Waves, when you touch water and it ripples out, waves have a way of continuing and taking on a life of their own, which is wonderful. But these kind of waves, if you keep making them, they start to build momentum. And that's really what we're after here. This is about a movement to destigmatize learning disabilities, to destigmatize ADHD. I was very happy and very proud to hear that Jack is testifying about his disability and that Raiden is openly talking about his learning disability because, like Asia said, we're not worse, we're just different. And all we want to be is understood. So what I hope tonight is, and as Smart Kids develops their programming and the support and advocacy that they provide for families that's so important, so I'm going to challenge all of you to make a difference. Everyone who's sitting in this room that supports an organization like this and comes out at an event like this is a stakeholder. You've got some interest in the mission of this organization. But I want to take it a step further. I challenge each one of you to not just be a stakeholder, to be an active agent of change, to make waves with us. Because the more waves that we make and the more momentum we can build, we can make a tsunami. And why is that important? Because the hope is that it'll wash away stigma for all of us. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for